Our patterns of thinking and behavior determine our lives and how well we feel. Or in other words, where we are right now is the result of our past ways of thinking and behaving. If we want different results, if we want a different life, then we need different ways of thinking and behaving. So why is it so hard for us to develop new patterns and patterns of thinking and behavior? And where do our current patterns even come from? Surprise, from our socialization, from the environment we grew up in, the way our caregivers, family, friends, school and surroundings have influenced and shaped us. It's not something we are born with. Many people believe they are the way they are because that's how they were born. But that assumption is largely incorrect. It only feels that way because we are shaped by external influences from a very early stage, even before we are born. And anyone who has small children around them can clearly see how strong the influence of parents is on child's thinking, feeling and behavior. So, our thinking, our behavior, how we deal with emotions, how we interact with other people, all of this is modeled to us, taught to us, passed on to us. As children, we observe it, absorb it, and adopt it. Over time, it becomes habit. It becomes our personality, even our identity. And the crazy part is, it all develops more or less randomly, depending on the environment we grow up in. And this random environment ends up shaping what our life looks like and how happy we are at 20, 30, 40, 50 or even 100 years old. Sure, no? Unless we start doing things differently, unless we break old patterns, but who actually does it? If you ask people what they think or how they behave in certain situations, they can usually describe that quite well. Describing feelings, however, is much harder for many people. Even though emotions are what drives us the most. And I'd even argue the people who claim to be very rational are often the ones most driven by emotions. And they just don't understand what's going on inside them. Isn't that wild? Emotions are one of the strongest forces shaping our behavior. Yet we often cannot even name or describe them. We can usually say what we think and what we do, but often not why we think the way we do, or why we do or don't do certain things. Each of us has a certain way of thinking about life, about other people, about the world, but we hardly can explain why we think the way we do. And that's a really interesting question. Why do I think this way and not another? Of course, I'm aware that many people do ask themselves why they are the way they are. Maybe they even have good answers. But that's still different from understanding why we think the way we think. Because to really answer that, in my opinion, requires a deeper psychological understanding. You can't believe everything you think. Maybe you've heard that before. Easy to say, but incredibly difficult if you don't yet understand how our thinking, our emotions, and our psyche actually work. We are so strongly identified with our thoughts. We think, I can't do this, instead of I'm having the thought that I cannot do this. And that creates a dilemma. When people are so deeply identified with their thoughts and someone questions those thoughts, it can feel like a personal attack on their identity, their very existence. So maybe they go straight into defense or counterattack. And honestly, I get that. Even if it might prevent growth or improvement. That's still a choice everyone can make for themselves. For many people, it's scary to admit that their self may have largely formed by chance, a construct shaped by environment, family, and circumstances. Who am I really? Am I even someone at all? And do I even want to reinvent myself now? If I let go of my old beliefs, what happens to my identity? What if the new identity is just as flawed? Do I really want to admit that I might have believed random or even unhelpful things for decades? I don't know. And that's why I genuinely understand and respect it when people choose not to change and prefer to keep living the way they have so far. Some of what I'm saying here might feel triggering to some people. That's not my intention. I'm not projecting any of this onto you. I don't even know you, at least not yet. So no one is obligated to relate any of this to themselves. I'm simply sharing my own beliefs, my way of thinking about people and the world. And I had to learn all of this myself. And yes, this perspective has helped me a lot in recent years, and it still helps me today. It helps to navigate this crazy, vast, and at the same time small, but also beautiful world. and I'm still learning. Gladly from others, gladly from you.